Have you been waiting too long, watching them smile at someone else, wondering if you'll ever get the courage to say the words? What if the signals you've been ignoring are screaming, yes, and every second you wait is a moment you can never get back? I know you've felt it before, the way your chest tightens when your phone buzzes, hoping it's them. The way you replay every conversation in your head, analyzing each word, each pause, each emoji. You're stuck in this limbo, thinking, maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I should wait. Maybe it's not the right time. And every day you wait, that tension grows like a quiet weight sitting just behind your ribs. Here's the thing most people never tell you. Waiting too long doesn't make love appear magically. It doesn't make feelings stronger. In fact, waiting too long often turns what could have been into what never will be. Think about it this way. Your crush might be sending signals right now, subtle, fleeting signs that they want you to notice them. But hesitation blinds you. Every maybe later you tell yourself is a moment lost, a moment that could have led to something real. I remember reading a study from Cornell University about attraction and timing. The researchers found that people who expressed interest at the right moment, before overthinking or overanalyzing, were far more likely to be perceived as confident, desirable, and trustworthy. But here's the kicker. The longer someone waits, the more nervous energy they broadcast instead. That hesitation isn't mysterious. It's loud, and your crush can feel it, even if they can't put it into words. And yet, fear keeps you frozen. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of breaking the delicate rhythm of your current friendship. I want you to notice this, that fear isn't a signal to wait. It's a signal that you care deeply, and that's exactly why you need clarity. The more you sit in uncertainty, the more your mind spirals. You imagine all the possible ways they might say no. You imagine all the things that could go wrong, and every imagined scenario chips away at the courage you actually have. Here's a subtle truth most people overlook. Attraction isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's a conversation to be started. You don't need to decode every glance, every text. You just need to pay attention to the patterns. Are they reaching out first sometimes? Do they remember small details about you? Do they laugh at your jokes in a way that feels different? These aren't coincidences. They're signals. Signals that your intuition, if you quiet the fear for just a moment, can read clearly. So here's the question I want you to sit with. Really sit with. If not now, when? Because time doesn't pause. Life doesn't pause, and your crush isn't waiting for you to feel ready. They're living their life, and every moment you wait is a moment you can never get back. By the end of this video, you're going to see exactly what signs to look for, how to read them without overthinking, and when you have everything you need to make that leap without regret. But first, I want you to take a deep breath and feel that weight in your chest. That's not just anxiety. That's desire, curiosity, hope, and maybe, if you act, it's the first spark of something real. Think about rivers for a moment. They don't pause because the stone isn't ready. They don't hesitate because the path is uncertain. They flow, persistent and patient, finding the path of least resistance while never stopping completely. And in love, timing works the same way. Hesitation can feel safe, but it isn't neutral. It's a slow erosion of opportunity. I remember reading an old Zen parable about a monk and a young traveler. The traveler kept waiting for the perfect moment to ask the wise monk for guidance, thinking he needed a sign from the universe. Days turned into weeks, and every day he asked, "Is today the day?" The monk finally said, "The day is now." Waiting for a perfect day is like waiting for the river to pause. It will never pause, and you will miss the lesson of the water. Love works the same way. Waiting for the perfect moment rarely produces clarity. Most of the time, the universe is already nudging you forward, giving you subtle signs you might not recognize because your mind is tangled in what ifs. Think about it this way. Your intuition is like a compass, and every look, every laugh, every message is pointing you in the direction of action. Hesitation is the hand that covers the needle. Ancient wisdom teaches something simple but profound. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the recognition that fear is part of the process. I know it feels risky to imagine saying the words, to imagine your crush reacting in any way other than the one you hope for. But the wisdom of centuries of human experience, stories of connection, longing, and missed opportunity says that the only way to know is to move, to act, to lean into the river instead of standing on its edge. I want you to picture this: a leaf floating on a river. It doesn't resist the current. It doesn't try to control its path. Now, I'm not telling you to abandon all control or throw caution to the wind. What I'm saying is, there's a rhythm to human connection, a subtle flow that begins when two people are ready for each other. The signs you've been noticing, those glances, those small touches, the way your conversations linger, are like the river calling to the leaf. Your role isn't to wait forever. Your role is to place yourself in the current. And here's another thing most people overlook. Timing in love isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. I remember reading a study about decision making and intuition. It found that when people acted on decisions that were aligned with their values and desires, even if the timing felt imperfect, the outcomes were often better than if they waited for certainty. In other words, the perfect moment doesn't exist outside of your awareness. It's created by your willingness to engage with the present. I know that can feel terrifying. I know that voice in your head says, "What if I get it wrong? What if they don't feel the same?" But what you're really feeling isn't just fear. It's the recognition of what you could lose, the awareness of the spark that exists between you and this person. And here's the paradox. The very thing that feels like risk is also the thing that signals opportunity. The anxiety in your chest is not a warning. It's your heart pointing you toward action. So, before we look at the psychological science of attraction, I want you to sit with this for a moment. The moment you've been waiting for might already be here. The signs are subtle, but they're real, and your ability to notice them and to trust them is what separates the stories that end in regret from the ones that become something unforgettable. The river is flowing. You don't need to wait for it to pause. You just need to step in. I want you to think about something. Most people never fully realize attraction isn't just about chemistry or luck. It's a conversation your brain is having with someone else's brain, often without either of you fully noticing. And the patterns are measurable. I remember reading a study from Harvard University that tracked nonverbal cues in first-time interactions. They found that people unconsciously mirror the gestures, posture, and even the speech patterns of someone they like. It wasn't conscious, it was automatic. But it's a clear signal your crush might be giving without realizing it. Think about it this way. If they're leaning in when you talk, if they're matching your tone, if they laugh more at your jokes than anyone else's, that isn't random. That's their brain saying, "I'm engaged, I'm interested, I'm curious about you." You might dismiss it as coincidence or overthinking, but the science shows otherwise. Your body picks up on these signals before your mind can even articulate them. That's why hesitation is dangerous, because the longer you wait, the more you risk missing the subconscious signs that already exist. Attachment theory also gives us a powerful lens here. I remember reading a study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology about secure versus anxious attachment and how it affects romantic pursuit. People with secure attachment are more likely to express their interest when the signs are there because they perceive risk differently. They see uncertainty as part of connection, not a reason to freeze. And here's the critical insight. Expressing your interest doesn't make you vulnerable in the way you fear. It signals confidence and emotional availability. That's exactly what humans are wired to notice. Reciprocity plays a huge role too. I read a study from the University of Texas that showed when someone gives subtle signs of interest, like initiating a conversation or sharing personal details, the other person is far more likely to mirror that interest. Attraction is rarely one-sided. Your crush isn't just passive in this. They're constantly sending signals back. But if you wait too long, the mirror breaks. The signals can fade, and suddenly what felt like alignment becomes ambiguity. And here's a part people rarely talk about. The psychology of regret. A study published in Psychology Today found that people regret inaction far more than action. That's not just about love. It's about life decisions. The human brain remembers the what-ifs longer than the, oops, I tried and failed. So the hesitation you feel is really your brain trying to protect you from temporary discomfort. But in doing so, it's setting you up for long-term regret. Let's translate that into real life. When you notice the signals, consistent attention, playful teasing, shared inside jokes, a curiosity about your life, that's not just flattery or coincidence. That's neuroscience at work. Your brains are synchronizing, and if you respond with interest, you're engaging a feedback loop that amplifies connection. But if you don't act, that same loop gradually cools. The spark is still there, but the timing window narrows. Here's another fascinating insight from social psychology. Studies show that uncertainty actually increases attraction, but only to a point. Small amounts of mystery or hesitation can heighten interest, but too much, weeks or months of overthinking and waiting, triggers disengagement. Your crush starts interpreting your silence as disinterest. Your fear of acting becomes the exact thing that pushes them away. I know it feels terrifying to imagine rejection, but from a psychological standpoint, the inaction itself is far more dangerous than a no. So here's the takeaway I want you to hold close. The signs are there, often subtle, but real. Science shows us that humans are wired to respond to interest, to mirror signals, to seek connection when it's reciprocated. Hesitation doesn't protect you, it costs you. Your intuition isn't just a feeling, it's your brain noticing patterns before your conscious mind can label them. The nervous energy you feel, that's your body saying, this is important, pay attention, act. And now, with that understanding, you have the lens to see clearly. You can distinguish genuine signals from casual friendliness. You can interpret subtle behaviors not as ambiguity, but as invitation. And most importantly, you understand why acting when the signs are present isn't reckless. It's a scientifically backed step toward connection that your mind and heart are already primed to recognize. Now that you've seen the signs, explored the wisdom, understood the science, and learned the steps, I want you to pause and really sit with this for a moment. I know it's easy to rush past this part, to skim it, and think, I know what I'm supposed to do. But what I want you to feel is the weight and the clarity of everything we've talked about. The hesitation you've felt, the racing thoughts, the longing, it all has a meaning. It's telling you something important about yourself and about the connection you're capable of creating. Think about it this way. Your fear isn't the enemy. Your overthinking isn't a flaw. They're just signals. your body and mind showing you that this moment matters. I remember reading a study about fear and decision making that showed when people label their fear as this is excitement and energy guiding me, rather than I can't handle this, they make choices that are more aligned with their long-term happiness. What that means for you is this. The nervous energy, the chest, tightness, the hesitation, that's not a stop sign. It's your body nudging you toward growth, toward clarity, toward action. I want you to picture the path of connection like walking across a bridge over a river. On one side is the uncertainty, the fear of rejection. The what if I mess this up? On the other side is clarity, mutual understanding, and the possibility of something real. Every step you take, the observation, the connection, the asking is 1 foot forward. And here's the thing about bridges. They only work when you move. You can't hover halfway and expect the river to freeze. The river is moving, the world is moving, and your crush is living their life. Your courage is what keeps you from being left behind by possibility. Here's a subtle but crucial insight. Clarity is often more powerful than the outcome itself. I remember reading a psychological study that explored regret and romantic inaction. They found that people who expressed their interest, regardless of whether it was reciprocated, reported feeling more at peace than those who waited indefinitely. Your mind doesn't just crave success, it craves resolution. Acting gives you that resolution. Waiting only prolongs the question mark in your chest, the heavy what, if that lingers in the silence between you. And I want to be honest with you, taking this step doesn't guarantee the answer you hope for. It might be a yes, and it might be a no, but that's not the point. The point is presence. The point is authenticity. When you act, you honor both your feelings and the other person's ability to respond honestly. That honesty, whatever form it takes, is a foundation for any meaningful connection. Think about it this way, even a no given with respect opens the door to understanding, to emotional maturity, and to future clarity. A yes given with thoughtfulness can be the beginning of something truly beautiful. I also want to highlight a small truth most people overlook. Connection grows in momentum once initiated. I remember reading a study on interpersonal chemistry and shared experiences. It showed that when one person expresses interest clearly, the other person's brain begins to mirror emotions more strongly, creating a feedback loop of engagement and attention. In other words, action doesn't just clarify the situation, it accelerates connection. You're not just asking a question, you're creating a ripple that could grow into waves. So here's what I want you to hold close. You already know the signs. You already feel the pull in your chest. You've already sensed the alignment in energy, curiosity, and attention. The tools, the insight, the courage, they're already within you. What remains is the simple, conscious decision to move, to take the step, to speak, to engage. And I promise you this, the clarity you gain, the courage you build, the authenticity you show, these are things no fear or hesitation can ever take away. Before we close, I want you to take a deep breath and really let that settle in. Imagine the possibility of acting with presence, with intention, with respect. Imagine the relief of knowing you didn't let fear dictate the outcome. Imagine the freedom that comes from clarity, even if the answer isn't exactly what you hoped for. That freedom is priceless. It is the gift of moving through life aligned with your heart, not trapped in the what-ifs of your mind. So as you leave this video, I want you to carry one thought with you. The right moment isn't something you wait for. It's something you recognize and create. It's the alignment of signals, the spark in your chest, the readiness to engage with courage. When those pieces come together, you take your step forward, not recklessly, but intentionally. And when you do, whether it's a yes, a no, or even an uncertain maybe, you'll have done something most people never do. You'll have acted with honesty, clarity, and presence. Remember, the river is still flowing, the signals are still there. Your opportunity is here, waiting for you to step in. Don't let fear keep you frozen on the bank. Trust your observation, build the connection, take the leap, and then, no matter the outcome, you will know one simple truth. You moved toward what matters, and that is always worth everything.